Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Another week of trading and lots of things happened, but also for me, work-wise, has been very busy. That's why I haven't got any midweek podcasts. Came out this week at 2, and it looks like that's what happened next couple of weeks. Well, just have a big project I need to go through next couple of weeks and finish up. So sorry first for not going to have any midweek podcast for last week and probably next week as well. Anyway, the market this week has been quite sporadic, so to speak. Mondays, there was a big jump, like 900 points jump, because there's some good news about some vaccine trial. And then, of course, the oil price moved up a little bit. Basically, everything moved up on Monday. And then Tuesday, suddenly the share price just dropped back down again because there was claim that, this company, I think it's called Moderna vaccine that they've created, is basically is in doubt because the company, at the same time when they release this vaccine news on Monday, also raised capital in the market as well, and they got quite a bit of money. But Tuesday, people start asking questions, say what is actually going on? Is this manipulating the market? Basically, come up with the news at the same time, raising money, for continuity research and so forth. And so the market sort of gone down 400 points the next day. So just normal reaction. Then Wednesday gone back up another 350 points. Thursday down to 50, and then Friday, just recover. But Friday there was, basically Thursday night, China started their yearly government conference called the Communist Party meeting, and basically that sort of set out the law or the reviews of what's going to happen next 12 months and also projection for next 12 months kind of thing. And one of the things that caught people's eye was basically because of this year, what happened also last year as well, the trade war between US and China, and also what happened in Hong Kong, all this demonstration. They're trying to enforce some security law and basically stopping all those people who are pro-independence in Hong Kong and as well as Taiwan and other places in China to stop them to do that, and try to pass laws and rules or project some laws and rules for next 12 months, that kind of thing. And people wasn't very happy, and then Hong Kong dropped down at 1,400 points on Friday, and the rest of the world basically all gone down with it. Not much, like 300-400 points, not as bad as like 1,000 points like before back in March, I think. But at least the West sort of recover. But there was a big shock for Hong Kong, and it's probably basically people it's the lack of trust, and and basically they don't really trust the Chinese government. They see where it come from, but they worry about being a communist country. The communist government will just make up some charges, and then basically just anybody could be put in jail for due to the security law, that kind of thing. So a lot of people is worried about it, and so I think there's demonstration over the weekend as well, and it's just nothing is going to be very good so far. But from a third party point of view, looking at from here, basically is this security law is required, because I'm not sure where you listen to this podcast, but I'm Hong Kong Chinese. I'm from Hong Kong, and I moved to UK, and for the past 12 months or so, last year and early this year as well, some of it this year as well, with some demonstration going on in Hong Kong, and I followed the news a lot. But the type of damages that people are doing, especially the youngsters in Hong Kong, is unheard of, so to speak. It's worse than vandalism. It's a lot more. It's just getting people can go into the government house and put graffiti on the emblem of Hong Kong, of Hong Kong government house, and basically throw petrol bombs at police, and throw petrol bomb to Hong Kong underground system entrance and the ticketing place. So and break windows and stuff and all sort of things. I mean, some of it's sort of reported in BBC News and around the world, but most of it is not. And from as far as I'm concerned, the Western country news seems to be one-sided. Say always China is bad. I mean, I don't trust China myself, but we know China is have issue about telling the truth sometimes and tell half truth, that kind of thing. But they have every right to try and protect themselves from all this independence going on. Hong Kong Chinese and China and Chinese people in general, if they want to have a more democratic society, they need to fight for it. And they really don't. I mean, Western world shouldn't really try to stick their hands into it. For me especially, I'm growing up during the rule of UK rule when I was in Hong Kong. Basically, Hong Kong is a colony of UK, and the UK government didn't give us 1 man 1 vote when I was on the colony, which is understandable because it's not it's a colony. And they don't want 1 man 1 vote to vote them out, so to speak, and they want to stay there. And only very near 97, they hand Hong Kong back to China. Then they talk about a bit of 1 man 1 vote, that kind of thing. And we never, when I was growing up, I never enjoyed or seen my parents and others, my relatives. Adult relatives had the chance or the right to vote for even local government representative. So UK couldn't do it. Why give it when they hand over Hong Kong back to China? I mean, they have to say you must. And the West, I mean, basically US as well, has always been using in a way. I mean, have been operating in Hong Kong quite a lot because while I was under UK government, it looks like a listening post for the communists, against the communists in China as well as North Korea, those kind of things. And they also use a lot of using Hong Kong to establish themselves for business and stuff as well. And I just feel that the last 6 months and a year, basically, you've seen a lot of Western media biased views, and also Western country diplomats or the some of the people working in the government actually give a helping hand, and it was on films, and it was published in Hong Kong. I think also on BBC News as well. It just raised a question why the West have a hand in it, and it's just like if you put the whole thing on his head, especially US, they don't like Russia to sort of was supposed to have helped President Donald Trump to win the last election, and they are quite vocal about that. I mean, then why U.S. is trying to do that in China is a bit beyond me. But as far as I understand, I mean, this security law is basically, for me, it's a just way to try to secure yourself, just because, to be honest, China doesn't want Hong Kong or other parts of China break away and be independent, and that's just not their cup of tea. They don't want that, and they want to stop all foreign forces actually do things in there. But I think one thing haven't been really addressed is about fear. This is why I think Hong Kong actually gone down a lot on Friday, because they understand the rule, the law required, but they don't trust the Communist Party because just like before, I mean, probably have read about it a couple of years ago. Some booksellers was selling books that is against the Chinese government, that presidency, about his family, his wife, how they come about, come to power, those to speak, and those people got arrested. Right, even as far as in Thailand, they got arrested and then sent back to China, facing not political charges, but apparently he killed somebody during in a car accident and fled. But and also there's other people suddenly got disappeared who work in that bookshop, who selling those books, and then suddenly surface in China, not in Hong Kong, but in China, and then say, they did something wrong, and admit wrongness, and this has just been, to me, it's quite silly as far as I'm concerned, and that's not very trustworthy, making very difficult for people to believe them. So basically, the lack of trust is basically, I think, scaring people in Hong Kong, and that's what's happening. Hong Kong gone down to 1,400 ponds on Friday, and probably going to continue maybe next week as well. So that's quite sad, but this has always been more or less what you call a tug of war between Hong Kong Chinese and China. All this demonstration, as far as concerned, is this fear thing is inside Hong Kong's people's DNA. It hasn't been talked much enough at all. I think in the West, in Hong Kong, there's a couple of news outlets actually said that, but like BBC News don't even talk about it. Basically, a lot of people, myself included, my parents as well as the grandparents have gone through Cultural Revolution, a lot of upheavals, famines, and how badly the Communist Party treat people. And at the time, Hong Kong was still under British rule. A lot of people, illegal immigrant, basically flooded from China, mainland China, into Hong Kong. And they also, the problem they see in China, fear they see the political upheaval causes a lot of death in China. And then when they go to Hong Kong, it's a bit like, okay, land of the free, so to speak, that's different. Give them a chance to regroup, and they stay there. But as they grow, and then when they married, and then have their own children and stuff, this fear has always been there and hasn't been really addressed. And the UK government never really addressed that, and the Chinese government never addressed that. Also, you always feel that there's always a saying in Hong Kong, killing Chinese people by the Chinese government is more like squashing an ant. There's just so many of us who cares, nobody will notice it. But that type of thinking is more ingrained in our parents and grandparents, and pass on to us. And then the new youngsters actually have lived from that sort of environment, grown up by treated by parents, pass the fear down, so to speak. And China never actually sit down and say show its good side on people, calm the fear, work with the new generations, calm that fear. It's always just very what you call top down approach. I tell you to do this and that's it. And also there's a lot of corruptions and stuff going on in China. So all these just add the fear on top of the fear, we enforce the fear. So whenever even I agree there's supposed to be some security law on China to stop all this breakup and stuff. I understand that, but I don't like the way that they could be misinterpreted, also be used to some other ways to put false charges on people, and that's not have been done before, and they never addressed that. So in Hong Kong, people are just fearful of it. Being myself a Hong Kong Chinese, I'm no fan for Chinese government, but I feel for the Chinese in Hong Kong, so just quite fearful basically. But going forward, what does that mean to us? Basically, I think at the moment the market in the West, as well as in Hong Kong, around the world as well, they thought the pandemic is it's been here around for 2-3 months now, spread around the world, and with the big financial institution from around the world pumping money, a regulator and the government pumping loads of money into the system, they think this basically the rebound of the market is going to be, continue, the market recover, the economy recover. But I think at the moment, there's probably a lot of people say that as well, big mismatch between what's actually in the economy and what's actually on the stock market. And this basically, we all see it. We go out, UK itself, just starting to ease on lockdown. I started about a couple of weeks ago, able to order KFC on but only delivery or pickup, allowed to go in and sit down and eat at the place. McDonald's only have limited openings, and apparently there's a big long queue. I haven't seen it yet in Bath, but it's reported in BBC News there's a lot of people queuing up to go to McDonald's, and it's a long queue, so to speak. And also IKEA is starting to open up, those kind of things. So the markets generally try to recover, but with social distancing and the virus still rampant running around in the world, and there's no vaccine yet. And in UK especially, I'm sure in US and other places around the world, there's not enough test kit. So for people to trust to go back out again, they would like to go back out again, but they always have to think, especially have our younger children like myself, would I bring my children out to to common places to eat and to play is a worry. So what happened to that? Translate that to economy. So the shops having problems. They have basically lack of people coming into the shop and buy things. People just spend the money on the food, basically the basic essential stuff. They don't have money to buy the high end stuff or change the next generation of phone, those kind of thing, and so forth. So the economy in general, for me, I just feel that it just not being reflected in the market, and there's a big mismatch, and all this thinking of there will be a V-shape. We actually got a V-shape recovery in the stock market, but people generally think V-shape recovery in the general economy, I think, is overstated. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be quite prolonged. So what I feel personally is going to be some sort of a stagflation going around. There's just China might be coming back up, or Southeast Asia coming back up to on the supply chain, able to supply, but the demand side around the world, in the rest of the world, is basically not there, or much reduced because of the pandemic lockdown and things like that. And so the recovery will be slow. And also people now, one thing pointing fingers to China all the time, but I think the rest of the world should also look at why put all the eggs in one basket, why everything has to make in China. They need to think of, plan B, so to speak. If China have a political upheaval, everything stop, or this time it's a virus, but let's say everything stops again, they going to still rely on China? No. So they move some of the operations to either Southeast Asian country or back home. Like Japan, I think they have some 100% incentive or something to bring whatever manufacturing in China going back into Japan themselves. But then they started to have this issue about have they got enough workforce, the cost of actually creating the unit cost per unit production will not be similar to China. It will obviously cost a lot more, especially in the West. And so the what you call the inflation, I basically we see it actually happening, but also the problem is with the world being slowly recovering, so we got a lot of stagnant recovery, and demand is not there. So that's, I think, with stagflation definitely coming about. And you and I probably go to a shop and see things are quite expensive food wise, because they just not just there's a lot of demand for the food, but general inflation comes in. But then, there's a lack of, new job opportunities, new demands and things around the world because everybody recovering, and so forth. This is just, I see it next couple of years probably more stagflation coming along. But that's just my view basically. But what happened to the market? Basically, you see it this week basically. All of last 2-3 weeks as well. You sort of see the rate of increase slowing. The market is showing a V-shape recovery, and around the world, the economy is people start coming out to work, and we still have to see how the economy will react. But to actually think, let's say for example, U.S. they lost 36 or 38 million people out of job. I mean, even you have half of those people suddenly gone back into work, and now 50% was still on the dole. You're talking about 18 million people out of job. And how long does that take for America to create those amount of jobs? Probably talk about 10 years. So for the next 10 years, if the same rate of increase of jobs creation, like the last 10 years, in U.S. alone, you still need another 8 to 10 years to go back to before pandemic time for at least that job available, full employment, so to speak. And the economy generally take that long probably to recover as well. What happened in the stock market, I personally feel that it probably, when people realize that's actually happening, the market probably will tank a bit. But then it just, we don't see the strong growth. I don't think. Be quite slow recovery, and we just have to wait and see. But from a trend following point of view, what do I care? In a way, the market is disjointed with the economy. Like Warren Buffett said, short term is a voting machine, long term is a weighing machine. At the moment, everybody in the stock market, or investor, so to speak, is voting that the economy will recover very quickly. And we as a trend follower, we just follow the trend. But as I said before, the rate of change is slowing, and Hong Kong index seems last couple of weeks has been slowing down, doing sideways, and actually, and short term is in a sell. Of course, plus this 1,400 points big drop on Friday may cause it will drop even further. And but I personally feel that the foretaste was actually coming for the rest of the world on the stock market wise, as people coming to go back to work, realizing that not many people actually go back to work, maybe up to 50%, maybe even lower 30 or maybe 20%. People realize that the economy is not doing well, and then know the stock market, the projection might not happen as good as some investors are thinking of, and there are some probably adjustment coming on, but who knows what might happen. But as far as I'm concerned, at the moment the trend is still up, gonna be a sideways, and Hong Kong or in Asia, well, Hong Kong in Asia is the only country at the moment showing a negative, going down. It could be regional because of this local security news law happening in China and affecting Hong Kong, but it might spread. We just have to wait and see. And the economy in China is coming back up again. They're not giving any foresight what happened next year, projection, what they think the economy will do. So a lot of things up in the air at the moment, so we don't quite know. So I think the West world will be very similar. A lot of company, when they do forward projection, probably just say not giving any guidance because nobody knows what happened. And the thing is, for this year is quite bad, I think, overall, as a lot of unexpected black swan events happens. I don't know what happened next. I mean, this time is the virus. People are talking about it might come back next, but what happened? Let's say, unfortunately, for example, there's earthquake in Japan again, or in America, or in Hong Kong. I don't know. What would that mean? Also, weather-wise, it might also affect both Southeast Asia as well as in America. That also happens as well. So it's quite odd, and actually see the disjoint between the market and the economy. But as a trend, for I say, you just follow the trend. We just have to wait and see. But one thing for sure, when the trend is changing, there's a lot of upheavals happening. Sudden violent moves, and it is these violent moves, most of the time, in my view, is a sign of a bear market. When when the bear market ends and the bear market starts, basically the market is trying to find its feet, and it's all normally it's quite volatile. And so when the stock market bull is ending, you see a lot of sudden up and down moves in the stock market, like back in 2008, a lot on the forex front. And this causes a lot of issues around the world, and nobody knows what's happening until about a year or two later on. And we'll then see the market tank and then go down. And then the bottom again is quite violent as well, volatile, up and down, and then new bull comes up again. So as far as I see at the moment, basically, I personally think it's still the bear market, and this at the moment is just a big rebound. Because even though the trend is still up, you just haven't got the economy in the back, try to push it up, like back in 10 years ago when, 2007, 2008, American economy is tanked, but the stock market moved up first, but then the economy recovered, and then the stock market continued to go up. At this moment in time, basically, the economy haven't recovered, it's only just started to come out from the doghouse, so to speak, and we just have to see how it goes. But for a quick recovery, I don't think so. So on the stock market, when people realize that's happening, I think it's a lot, side trade, or maybe come back down with a more corrections happening. But we'll see how it goes. Basically, that's my 2 cents worth of rant for this week. So coming up is this update on my sample portfolio. Okay, here's the update of the sample portfolio. There's a couple of changes, but not much. Apple is same as last week. Short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. Amazon, now short term is changed to buy now. Medium and long term is still a buy as well. So last week Amazon short term is a sell. Basically, we just see Amazon's making headway, and the stock market basically is good for Amazon at the moment. So we see how it goes. Australian dollar against US dollar next. Short term is a buy. Long and medium term is still neutral, same as last week. Brent crude, short term is a buy. Medium and long term is neutral. Same as crude oil. Short term is a buy. Medium and long term is neutral. Next is DAX in Germany. Short term is changed from last week from sell to this week to a buy. Medium and long term is neutral. Dow Jones is still short term is a buy at the moment. Neutral for medium term and long term. So this is more or less what I talk about this sideways trade at the moment. Okay, for Dow Jones Index. UK FTSE 100. There's a change. Short term wise, gone to buy, and then medium long term is neutral at the moment. The buy basically from Monday when the sudden increase in 900 odd points in Dow Jones also pulled up other countries, give other countries hope as well of vaccine. So that's why DAX in Germany as well as UK FTSE 100 has gone up in short terms. Gold next. Short term is still a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. Hang Seng Index, short term is still a sell, continue to sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. So the 1400 points decrease in Hang Seng Index last Friday basically just accelerated selling. And out of all the indices so far, I think only Hong Kong Hang Seng is down at the moment, so just keep watch. Next is Nasdaq. Medium term is short term is a buy, medium term changed to buy this week, and long term is a buy. So Nasdaq seems to be one of those V-shaped recovery, and recovery very, very strongly. Now, can it go beyond the, I think 9600 or something before the pandemic? We don't know, but I think it's about 9300 at the moment, so we just have to wait and see. Nikkei in Japan, short term is a buy, medium term and long term is neutral. Silver, short term is a buy, same as last week, neutral, medium term, and long term now changed from neutral last week to this week to a buy. So that's a changes here. So silver is doing some sort of catching up with gold, but one thing for sure though, it is following gold's path and it's above 200-day moving average, and will it stay above it? It's worth one to watch, but we just have to wait and see what silver does. Next is US dollar against Chinese yuan. Short term, medium term, long term is a buy. That means Chinese yuan against US dollar is weak, so you can get more Chinese yuan against the US dollar. So that's what's happening at the moment, which sort of makes sense. Next is US dollar against Japanese yen. Short term is a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. There's some recovery in the Japanese yen. Basically, it's getting a bit weaker, but it's still against US dollar is still down. I think people still in general think there probably some who are coming around, and Japanese yen has always been a sort of safe haven for market turmoil. So we just have to wait and see. Next is British pound against Japanese yen. Short term is a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. After that is British pound against the US dollar. Short term is a sell, medium term is neutral, long term is a sell. Bitcoin, short term is still a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. And on Bitcoin, one thing though, just same as last couple of weeks, it seems to having problem break above the 10,000 marks. There are a lot of people said there might be, once it break above 10,000 marks, you can go to the moon, so to speak. Sky's the limit, but we just have to wait and see. I don't really know where they will go. I just follow my system, but it looks like this 10,000 point is having issue. The Bitcoin's having issue trying to break above it, so it's more or less like a side trade at the moment. And last but not least is TLT, the iShares 20 plus, which basically track the bond market, long-term bond market in US. So short term is a sell, medium term neutral, long term is a buy, which basically makes sense because more and more people use the money going to the stock market instead of the bond market because the fee is gone. But so short term is sell, medium term is neutral, long term is still a buy though. Now on that front, this week as well, I think the one thing that happened, I think, this week is the UK government tried to sell government bond. We call it gilt. Basically, for first time in history in UK, they actually offering selling government bonds with a negative interest rate. That means if you lend UK government 100 quid, instead of government give you a percent interest for lending it money, now you have to also give UK government to give them the privilege to borrow your money. So that's what negative interest rate means. So instead of government in UK give you some money for lending them money, no, they're not going to give you any money. In fact, you have to give money to the UK government. Now, this kind of thing already happened in Germany, happened in Japan, happened in France. Now it's happened in UK, and probably next people are speculating probably happen in US, even though US very low interest rate at the moment. But if everybody else going one way or another slowly into negative interest rate, it's likely that American dollar is going to do something on the American Federal Reserve go and put the interest rate to really, really low, probably negative as well. So we just have to wait and see. The other news is I'm not sure if you heard of before. All these what you call trillions of dollars of packages, the save the country packages, so to speak, from American government. They need to borrow that money from somewhere, right? They can print it out, of course, from digitally, but they also want to borrow from other investors. And apparently, there's for in June anyway, there is a aspiration to sell $3 trillion worth of US bond. I don't know what year these are on, short term or long term, but 3 trillion is a lot of money now. With everybody, a lot of other countries also selling bonds. I'm not sure how great people will appetite for that will be, and also with US and China having a trade war. China probably not going to be very helpful on this front, and Japan is already buying a lot of U.S. bond as well. Will they actually have 3 trillion to help out, or rest of the world help America? I don't know. So it's kind of difficult for me to foresee that U.S. able to sell that. But I did some research, and let's talk about in Southeast Asia as well. Some of the channels. Media channels, they talk about every time when America have a very big amount of government bond, we talk about loads of billions, tens of billions of stuff, and this case is worse, it's 3 trillions. Every time when US government try to sell something big in the bond market, somehow the market's tanked because the fear drives people. Stock market is down, the fear sets in, and people basically, investors just go into the bond market, and they might use that front as a negative to use as a driver and help them to move from positive to negative interest rate, just like a lot of European countries and Japan does. And if that happens, then I think June and July, I think June definitely with this 3 trillion, I think it's going to sell for 3 trillion in June. Doesn't foretell really well for the US market. And if history does repeat itself, I was doing some digging myself, looks like that's the case. But let's say if history repeats itself, we're looking at quite a bit of minimum sideways in June, possibly some sort of quite large correction in June, and probably July timeframe forces people to go into the bond because people get scared in the stock market. Bond market actually gone up again. The bond price gone up. That means the yield goes down, and then so the government basically don't need to pay too much money. Probably go negative now to borrow money from the rest of the world. And if that's happening, then you, ladies and gentlemen, watch out on your shares and watch out on your risk management. And basically, when the trend change, just watch it. I hope I'm totally wrong, but at the moment, from my research, this might happen. For me, I'm being a trend follower. All this is sideshow, but it does. The fundamental of my analysis, my private analysis, make me more careful about what happens when the trend change. When it change, I just go without questioning it, and basically that's what I think will happen next. So just be careful, guys, and Have a good time in June, maybe in July as well. But watch how trend change, then just get out of it, and don't marry your position if the trend change from positive, from going up to negative to a bear market. Just change your trend following as well. Just follow, go down to the downside, make money. That's just my 2 cents worth, and I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.